Hello and welcome to MARCHintosh 2024. Today I would like to show some of my Macs that live downstairs, so to speak, and at my office at work. And then the next one I'll get the machines upstairs. But I just want to show some of the machines, just what I have, a quick overview. I'll probably boot some of them, but we'll see. And forgive the little puppy in the background. Rupert wants to be in everything. Let's have a look. This is a 2014 iMac that's running the Open Core Legacy Patcher on it. So it's actually running Sonoma. I wish it had 16 gigs of RAM in it because this one's a little pokey. But this computer is always been a little pokey, but it gets the job done just for handy reference in the kitchen. I suppose we should start with offices first. So here's my office at home, and I have another 2014. This one's a Mac Mini, and it only came with 4 gigs of RAM, so you can imagine how painfully slow it was. But DOS-Dude 1 bumped it up to 16 gigs, and I had a solid state drive extra, put it in there, and this thing runs Sonoma very, very well with the patcher. Down here is a Mac Pro 4.1, and it's only got 8 gigs of RAM in it, and I need to boost that up because, and it's also, there's a display hooked up to it, but I'm running it headless. But this runs my Pi-hole server, and I have this extra display on the Mac here because I just keep a remote screen login from the Mac Pro up to here, so I can just keep an eye on my server and whatnot. Now let me go ahead and I'll show the computers I have at my office where I work every day. Okay, so here are the Macs I have at my office. You've already seen this Macintosh Plus. I have a Cube that I've not even turned on yet, so I don't even know if this works. I gotta turn it on. I don't know why I've been waiting so long. And over here is my M2 Mac Mini that I bought brand new last August. It's actually the very first ever new Mac that I have purchased. Absolutely love it. One more Mac Mini I have. I believe it's a 2006. I believe it's a first gen, and it works just fine. I actually made a video about it in October of 2023 where I was playing with it. So I'm sure you can go back and find it pretty easily. I think it was trying to get OS 9 to run on it. And I was just trying to do that as an experiment. And then I didn't have the installation media to go back to 10, but it's just something to play with anyway. But I like it. It's a really cool machine. So in my living room, I have a Color Classic, and unfortunately, it needs recapping, I believe. But more than that, the display has a greenish tint to it, so something is causing the electron guns to misbehave, most likely. What I want to do is turn this into one of the Mystic color Macs, and I will one of these days. Over here are some more of my compact Macs. This is Macintosh SE with the hard drive. This is a Macintosh SE that just came with dual 800K floppies. This was actually my first retro compact Mac to get, and I guess I got it back in 2018 or so. This thing is just old faithful. I've got a SCSI to SD inside of it, and it's just fun to play with. This is my SE30, and it definitely needed recapping. So Amiga of Rochester did this machine. Up above it is my Macintosh Classic. It still needs to be sent off to Amiga of Rochester for recapping. And then up here at the top is my Macintosh Classic 2. It has been sent to Amiga of Rochester for recapping. And in case you can't tell, I really like using Amiga of Rochester. They do a great job. Or I should say, he does a great job. Now over here is another Macintosh Plus. I haven't done much with it because of the one that I have on display in my office is pretty well maxed out. But this one works, but it's got the bad solder joint on the analog board. So sometimes the display goes off and you have to do the pat on the side. But it works. And well, that's not a Macintosh at all, is it? Maybe I'll have to save this one for an IBM day. Also, in my study at the house, I have 3 of these power books. I believe I will get these out and do a brief demonstration of them. They're all similar, yet different. Over here is my clamshell and my working Color Classic. Now, these two are kind of interesting because, well, I've got an Image Writer 2 down here that is connected to the Color Classic. And I have this, this CD-ROM drive that I've got to get to, you guessed it, Amiga of Rochester, because I think it needs a recapping. I can't get it to work. And Amiga of Rochester recapped this classic, Color Classic, and brought it back to life. As usual, a job well done. And we have, for system specs on this guy, .5.3 and 10 megabytes of RAM. This guy right here apparently did not get shut down properly. But we are running Mac OS 9 here. Now the thing that's interesting about both of these is that they are actually connected to my network. Haven't been able to do too much, but I have plans to really want to do something cool, especially with this Color Classic, to get it into something capable of modern use on the internet, even if it's some kind of sync term-like program that'll just let me call BBSs. This is just such a neat little machine. And this one, I've got to get a newer browser on it before I can really do much of anything. But it's still cool, and it's there, and it works. Like I said, since this was my very first compact classic Mac to purchase, I think it's only fair that we give it a boot up, because it's probably been a while. Now this, like I said, has a SCSI to SD built into it, or connected into it. Now this one I actually have hooked up some dial-up modems to in the past and call some BBSs over a phone line just because, well, I could. And you know, I'm trying to remember, I might have taken the SCSI to SD out of this one and put it in another machine. I might have put it in my SE30. Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's get the SE30 up here and see if it boots. But there's nothing wrong with this machine, I promise. Now this is very disappointing to me because the last time I used this computer was about probably almost 2 years ago, and it worked perfectly fine. And it's booting off of its blue SCSI just fine. And I don't know why the screen has all these it's not just the vertical rolling, it's little flickers. I'm sure somebody watching will know what the problem is. Amiga of Rochester, for one, should know. But anyway, that kind of hurts my heart a little bit because it was perfectly fine just a little while ago. Well, let's move on to the Classic 2, which, even though it's newer than the SE30, most people argue that the SE30 was designed better. I really need to get my regular Classic recapped, and the only reason is that the Classic is very sentimental to me, and I've got this Classic 2, of course, and it still kind of evokes that same feeling. But I just remember being at a computer store probably when I was in the 4th grade at a store called Ray Davis and Company, and they only sold brand name IBM equipment and Macintosh. And I was still using my Tandy Color Computer 2 at the time, and my uncle had introduced me to the Macintosh years before, and I just thought it was so cool seeing what this could do that my little Coco 2 could not. We're not going to watch this whole thing boot because you know what happens, but let's check out its system stats. Now also, this machine still has a mechanical hard drive in it, and I love up here at the top where it's got a little simulated disk activity LED. That's really neat. And if we go into About Finder, this guy has, looks like 4 megs of physical RAM and then up to 10 with virtual memory. Yeah, another thing I just wanted to say about the Classic, there's just something about them, I guess, like I said, because of the time that I discovered them. It just seems like very classy and just confident, and it just seemed very special. Even if when the Classic was released, it was, you know, obsolete even by those days' standards. I've just always loved the Classic, and then the Classic 2. And I'm very lucky and glad to have one of these. Once again, thanks to Amiga of Rochester for recapping it for me and keeping it in life. Now, once again, all 3 of these were acquired by sheer coincidence. I've got PowerBook 520. I've got another PowerBook 520. Ooh, ready for PowerPC upgrade. Does it have it? And then a PowerBook 520C. Unfortunately, These all have had normal time and extreme temperature storage, I believe, wreak havoc on the screens. So I have played with these. I believe the one that I play with most of the time is the 520C. But why don't we fire them up and see what each one has to offer. Let's take a look at the first one I got. This came in a huge haul of Macs that I got back in 2018 or 2019 maybe, from Athens, Georgia. And it was stored up in an attic, so it had extreme temperatures. You can see the thing still works, but the screen is just, just awful. Now, the one thing in common with all these things, I almost knocked it down. Is that it's got, that one's missing its back cover panel, but I need the SCSI adapter, and I'm pretty sure there's a way to do a video out. I'm still looking for the equipment to do that. But this is the worst shaped one that I have. Now, right, Grace? And my lovely wife. She is my assistant and supports me in all of this. And this thing is still trying to boot with the ConnectX RAM doubler. So I will resume when it's finished booting. And then we'll go on to the next two. And that's why I need that little SCSI adapter, because I can't find any iOmega drives, and I actually have some SCSI iOmega drives. But if I can find the mouse pointer, here it comes. Let's look at what this system has. Now, it's still chugging. There we go. About this Macintosh. Okay, so it's got 12 megabytes of built-in memory, running System 7.5, but it's got another 12 of virtual memory, I guess, with that ConnectX. So that's how it runs. Now, what I'd like to do is shut this one down and then focus my attention to these over here, which I got later than this one. And again, it's just a weird coincidence that I got all 520 series. Here's the 520 and the 520C. Ready for PowerPC upgrade. What are we gonna find? Let's have a look. Grace wants to know. All right, let's boot these pretty close to simultaneously and see what happens. Here's the 520. Here's the 520C. Different boot chimes. Oh, those screens are so sad. So let them boot, and then let's look at the screens after they're done booting. What's really sad is that it wasn't that long ago I was using one of these to call bulletin boards, and the screen has already gotten that worse in just a very short amount of time. So I need external or display repairs on this. Let's look at this one. This is the 520. And then let's look at the color. Oh. It's very hard to see. So it appears that this one that still has the Power PC upgrade sticker is still running the Motorola 68K series. This one with the color screen, it's running, looks like Mac OS 8, has been upgraded to the Power PC. What's really discouraging is that this screen has gotten this bad over just a year and a half from the last time I used it. So I really need to get the external cable so I can hook it up to something else for both of these. Or find somebody who's still willing to fool around with these screens, because at this point I'm not. But the plastics are worn to hell. They're very brittle, but the computer still works. So there is something to be said from that. There is still something to be said from that. All three of these still work. But in all of this, I've gotten so many now that I forgot. I still have another series of Macintosh laptops to show. And this is still just downstairs. This is all just part one. I'm not even going to get these out and try to boot them right now because I know they all work. But these are still some PowerPC laptops. And a MacBook Pro is one of them. I think a lot of them are iBook G4s. And I have all these that I still haven't gone through yet. So I have a lot of inventory. Now that is the power supply that you saw earlier, my Cube. This is the power supply. I need to be motivated to hook it up, because I've got to see if that thing works. And there's one more, which is not very old. And it's something that I use regularly that just deserves being shown. Another machine with the open core legacy patcher. I got this one for free. The battery is bulging. But here's a MacBook Pro from 2014, I believe. Apparently I have 3 2014s. And this is my daily driver notebook. So, what can you say? No need to go and boot this one up. This is modern enough to where everybody knows. But that's my downstairs Macintosh collection. Hey, Grace. Well, that is my collection of my downstairs Macintosh computers, as well as the ones I have at my office, my day job. I still have several upstairs that will be in part 2 later this month for MARCHintosh. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you will subscribe and be entertained, because I have a bunch of retro stuff. Computers are my life, and this excites me being able to do this. and I would love to bring some kind of entertainment to the entire retro computer community. That's my goal, and that's what I'd like to do because I enjoy it. Some people do IT for a living, which I do, but some people do it as a passion. It's always been a passion for me. I'm 43 years old and got into computers before kids did. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate your viewership. Have a good day, evening, whatever.